Andy, I know that you happen to be Jewish, but I also happen to know that you're white. And so I thought you would appreciate this. Bill O'Reilly is traveling at the moment, if we're to believe his Twitter feed. And he is standing in front of a sign in Ireland. Fate go Conte o Chabin, I think is what the sign says.
Black people stop complaining.
Welcome to County Cavan. And Bill O'Reilly tweets, enjoying my time in Ireland. Visited County Cavan, where my ancestors were evicted from their land in 1845. That forced them to come to America legally so they wouldn't starve. Pardon me if I reject the white privilege scenario if applied to my family.
That's me sober and on message.
Exactly.
My family
Why aren't
was
these
oppressed.
people coming up from Honduras? You know what I mean? Coming legally as they're escaping 1 out of 7 people being shot. Can't they do it the way Bill O'Reilly's great-grandparents did it?
He was starving.
The way Bill O'Reilly's great-grandparents came legally was that it was impossible for an Irish person to come illegally at the time.
That's right.
It was actually, there is no way an Irish person could have illegally immigrated to the United States.
Completely no laws that would prohibit it.
We were starving, but we were able to build submarines that snuck right into the Hudson.
He would have had to have come up with his own. He would have to have hired their own people to shepherd them.
I also wonder if his family came over in shackles and was then summarily auctioned off so that his different family members went to different places in America and spent a generation or two in
No, but I will
bondage.
tell you, they didn't give us 3 square. So think about it.
That's what gets me. Here's what gets me about these people. They're like, I know oppression. My family was oppressed. Therefore, I have no empathy whatsoever for anyone who's oppressed now. Like, that is not the lesson that I would take from
When
that.
I think of my suffering ancestors, I think, fuck Mexican kids.
You know how hard it is for a white, 6'12" white man to get ahead in our society when 200 years ago there was some prejudice directed towards Irish people? It's not easy. It's not easy.
Well, also, to be fair, Andy, as a Jew, I sure am aware that we were also in bondage in Egypt. And it took... we're still, I think, in some ways, still suffering from that period of time in Egypt where we were in bondage.
Pharaoh was so mean.
I mean, look, we still have matzah.
Right? Because we didn't have time to bake it then.
That's right. And we're still sort of trapped by matzah.
Actually, Jews do fetishize their own oppression and should probably stop playing identity politics.
No, but that's true, Michael. But
burn in the
before I became a comic, all I did was Pharaoh references, and then I updated them.
That's
Who
funny.
am I, the Pharaoh?
You know-
This guy's the Pharaoh over here.
When I did the Stitches, do you remember this in Boston, the Stitches comedy riot? Do you remember
Oh
that?
no, because I never worked in Boston at those like Nick type clubs or whatever.
Right. This was sort of like the better of those. And it was a comedy competition for like, non like amateur comedians and I can't remember who it was. I did my routine, and it was like about Jesus, right? It was like a Jesus routine. And Cam Neely was one of the judges. He was a famous Boston Bruins hockey player. And you would get the ratings from the judges, and they would give comments. And he wrote, okay, but need more current stuff.
Oh man, what would he say about Dennis Miller? I got a
Right, exactly.
coming out of
Dennis Miller's doing stuff mostly from this century, or at least I would say the 20th century. I was going back to the aughts, the real aughts.
That's
Yeah, you might alienate people with those older references, is what he was saying.
So here is, and we want to do this one before. Well, let's get to this after we do Dennis Miller. I wanted to do the Bill O'Reilly thing as a way of prefacing this clip with Bill O'Reilly, Dennis Miller. They're back at it. Now, Miller has his own show now. That's the Dennis Miller Option.
Option. What a great name. It's an option.
But you're saying
if you can't get any other reception, you use that option.
you're saying I can have it without the Dennis Miller, though?
Yeah, I'll take it. Without Dennis Miller.
Michael and I are still planning to do
Gluten-free buns.
Michael and I are still planning to do our show, and we're going to want you on this, Andy, where we listen to Dennis Miller and a Dennis Miller episode and just mock it in real time, which we will call the other Dennis Miller option. Or maybe the better Dennis Miller option.
The public Dennis Miller.
Here is Bill O'Reilly and Dennis Miller. This is from May. So but I think this is evergreen stuff. I
don't know, because he switches it up from like day to day. So this is already super stale.
What do you think? Well,
there might be references to movies made in like 1982 instead of 79.
I would say the topic is also pretty stale. But this one is, of course, about the scourge that we're facing right now, Andy, with everything that's going on. I think you're aware of this. You must know it as a performer. The fact that we have to deal with PC culture is just killing us.
It's so hard. I can't say anything racist on stage anymore without causing a big stir.
Here we go.
Barbara. So has politically correct behavior and pressure influenced you at all in the way you present?
Sure. That's what they want. That's what they're going to get. When I was young and I was more fiery, I'd fight them. You really want to come on?
Pause it for 1 second. Andy, I got to tell you, Dennis Miller is so not into this. He's got the computer on his lap.
Yes. He's not even at a
He
desk.
needs to sit at a desk. And it's almost I'm getting vertigo watching.
I do, don't you? I like the premise that, like, back in my prime, I would defend a reference to Caligula to justify why black people are animals. But today, I'm too tired.
Here we go.
That hammer? I don't at age 64. I'll be honest with you. I don't think it's coming back. You know me. We've had this talk. I don't find it funny. I find it disturbing. I don't sense anybody on that side of the aisle who's doing all this finds it disturbing. And I don't quite see what's going to bring it back. Maybe I read an interesting article about Kanye West might have torn a hole in the fabric of it all by coming out and saying he loves Trump. It might take somebody from that side who's thought to be, a salient, cogent social commentator. I don't know much about hip hop, but I do know that my kid thinks he's brilliant, my one son. Maybe it takes something like that, but I do remember this. I watched Kanye West for years, and he always seemed insolent and angry and often drunk when I would see him at these award ceremonies, and nobody ever said a word to him. They chalked it up to artistic license. And then I remember a year ago, he said if I had voted, I would have voted for Donald Trump. And I think his family and loved ones had him involuntarily committed later that week to a sanitarium. That'll show. I'm not even kidding there. I remember they put him in. I thought, that's what you have to do to be committed by your loved ones. That's when the intervention comes now, when you say something like, well, I think Candace Owen makes sense. Now they're out to get him. So I can't even find it mirthful. I can't find anything about it where you say, yeah, isn't that crazy? It is crazy. And would I alter certain things I would say in these times? Yeah, I would.
How about the other comics that you know? Are they angry that they cannot express themselves the way they could about all topics, say even 10, 15?
Now pause it for 1 second, right? And I mean, like we always go back to this. People can express themselves any way they want, but what they can't do is do stuff that their audience who pays to see them doesn't like, because then they'll stop paying to see them.
Right? It's just that they can say what they want, and the audience can say what they want.
No, it's the audience that is must toe the line of
Also, I mean, whatever. I hate to do this, but like, okay, the president of the United States, the former one, called Kanye West a jackass. There was some response to his previous behavior.
The fact
Except for
that
that.
no one's ever
Right.
criticized
Except for when
Kanye West.
Obama called Kanye West a jackass on national television. But besides that, there was no response. Actually, you can't even do it. He doesn't even have any bop anymore. He's just like, there was no response to this guy.
Yeah, he's dropped it all.
His bop
he can't
has
even do a
lost
reference
its
to his
spook.
computer.
Yeah. He should just
I
lay on
wonder,
some earth
do you think
and
he's
eat some Milano
Do you think he's
cookies.
on a computer? Or do you think he's just like putting the iPad in his lap?
Oh my God, it's probably the iPad.
Hey, the man knows his angles, okay?
The iPad's burning his
I mean, this
thighs.
is just sort of like that's what I'm always amazed by is like the desperation of O'Reilly to have somebody come on his show, and the increasing sort of like hostility that Miller shows to O'Reilly by
Right.
like I'm gonna make no effort. I can't
This
even.
could have been a phone call. That's all this is.
I can't even
There's
put it-
no one listening to these two guys. Just make it a Skype.
I can't even put on a T-shirt, and that's why I got to do this angle.
Hey,
probably.
welcome. We got Miller here. It's time for some new jokes.
I do like that Bill is still like projecting as if he was actually on TV. Though.
Right.
Like he's still doing
Right.
the full performance.
And his comic friends, he says. He has no comic friends.
No, that is
Dennis
pretty great.
Miller?
He's like, welcome. Now we got a real firecracker. We got Dennis Miller here. He's going to break it down for us. Yeah, you know, Billy, I've been thinking about killing myself. I saw this tranny doing a set at the club the other night, and I just can't. I think, I just want to die. All right, so Millie, you're saying PC's not good for comedy, right? It's not good for anything. For
Play a
anything
little
that's
more
really
here.
upset.
Years ago.
I don't think so. I think that listen, even when you're in the room, as they say, I don't know what to say, Bill. It is a pretty crazy thing that was happening. It's almost like Orwell missed it by 35 years.
Yeah.
But I think if you told him that you can't use certain phrases, or you can't watch certain movies that are considered classics, or you can't listen to that, or if you say this, they try to ruin you, I think Orwell would say, well, I'm looking to be, I don't want to be so on the nose about it. I want it to be a little more diffracted. It is weird times out there, and the people who are making it weird believe they're making it weird in the name of progressive liberalism, and that's an odd mix. I don't know what to say. They
All right,
feel
pause
they're
it for 1
right.
second. Now, Matt, you got to help me out on this because I haven't read Orwell in some time. But was that book about like a concern that audiences would have a change in taste?
Oh,
as
wait,
to
what
they
book
think is
are
funny?
you talking about?
We're being too critical. In 1984.
1984?
Orwell, yeah, I just missed it by 35 years. Where
Oh, I didn't even get that part.
yeah, where yeah, audiences become really critical of content producers.
Because I was going to say, I thought that's what Homage to Catalonia was.
Yeah, I
about.
was gonna.
I thought that was the.
That's how it
You
starts.
can't do your gay jokes anymore book.
First thing you
I
know,
noticed the
you
way he
can't do
said,
gay
as
jokes.
they
Next
say
thing,
Even
in
shoot
the
an elephant
room.
anymore.
fucking Franco's taking over.
Say that again, Andy.
I said, he says, as they say in the business, in the room. What does that mean? Who in the business says in the room? He's like, I don't know what he's talking about.
I don't think anybody says in the room.
Yeah, but there's some insight that we need here that only multimillionaire show business people could possibly have their finger on. So, Andy, let me ask this to you. Why, like, what I don't understand about Dennis Miller, and I guess any of these people, but it just does. He could honestly just be just as much of an asshole and be like, I'm 64 years old. I'm a multimillionaire. I barely ever work. Maybe I do need to work. Maybe that's why he's upset. Maybe he's running out of money and needs to work. But why would you be so unhappy if you had ridden
He
such
was in
midland
Santa
talent?
Barbara. I mean, that's the thing.
Like,
He
that's
was
amazing.
living in Santa Barbara on 9/11. You know, we've talked about this before. Was did it make his Fiji water come late, 9/11 or something? I mean, this guy, why did 9/11 turn him? He's just always been an asshole is the only thing I can think.
Wow. He's so sad, though.
I mean, he could go out. He just, you know, I don't know. There's a lot of reasons why people are sad. I don't want to take him to
Right.
task for that as much as what he
I do.
blames.
I do too. I don't care if he's sad. I hope he gets more depressed.
Let's.
I'd like to send him to the wrong side. I'd like to send him to an Ashton Kutcher psychiatrist prank thing and give him the wrong drugs.
That was your. I like how that's Andy's version of a Dennis Miller joke, except an
Wow.
actual Andy joke. It's. Here's a slightly out of date cultural reference, and I hope it culminates in you getting misdiagnosed.
That's
Hey,
dark.
Doc, I haven't felt this tired since I took Thorazine and Nurse Ratchet and Cuckoo's Nest, and I'm very tired. Doc, very tired.
Hey, two things. I think we need to give Dennis a little credit for being about 20 years closer to today in his cultural references, right?
Yeah,
Kanye.
true.
Only a little while ago that happened. And perhaps he's come around to some sort of defense of the rights of people with mental health problems via this little gambit.
I do give him credit, but you notice the way he uses words. Only he would say, and hey, Kanye's making a salient cogent. I mean, this is like. That's like someone who uses the word utilize instead of use. He's just so impressed with himself because he knows 75 words.
Hey, the humor's in the pronunciation, all right? It's not his fault that you don't
True.
understand humor.
Didn't
He
he
doesn't
say that
seem
he
that
sounds
happy with himself.
mirthful?
What?
Was he being sarcastic when he said that?
What, he said what?
How was he using mirthful?
Do you think maybe?
Oh, I
with
didn't
this-
hear her
maybe
say
do you think
mirthful.
maybe Bill O'Reilly accidentally sent Dennis Miller a sexual harassment message, and there's tension between them?
No.
Okay.
Let's listen more to this.
You know, Mel Brooks was in World War II. He fought in Germany, and he was very affected by the Holocaust and everything else. And now his movie that he won an Oscar for screenplay, if he had written that now, number one, it wouldn't have got made. They wouldn't have made it. And number two, would it be a microaggression to all these
producers?
people who are so
Is he talking about the
sensitive they
producers?
can't even.
So we're talking about the producers?
He's talking about the producers, but he's conflating it with I think Blazing Saddles
Like,
or
not
something.
only could you make the producers now, but they did. And it was a
it was
big
on
hit.
Broadway, yeah.
Yeah, they did it 2 years ago.
Yes.
It had 45 revivals.
Point counterpoint.
And I like how Bill O'Reilly refused to he was thinking of Blazing
Yeah, I
Saddles
think he
where
was
they
thinking
say
Blazing Saddles.
he's a nah. You know that thing, but then he moves it. He gets confused, and then he realized I can't say the Jews would be all over you right now. Oh God!
People are telling me that they think Dennis Miller is on the toilet in this video. You think what's the over under on that? Do you think?
You know what?
That's his career. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, keep playing. It's possible,
God.
although that lighting leads me to believe it's not. But go ahead.
Made, they wouldn't have made it. And number two, would it be a microaggression to all these people who are so sensitive they can't even delineate satire, which obviously the producers is. They're satirizing things.
Oh, it is.
They're not
Thanks, Bill.
maliciously poking fun at anything, other than the fact that Hitler was such an idiot. If you watch the movie, Dick Shawn plays him as an idiot. Okay. But I'm disturbed because it goes into every.
This, by the way, this also shows how out of date Bill O'Reilly is, because it's modern Republican media. You don't just call Adolf Hitler an idiot, okay? Show a little bit more respect.
Yeah, exactly. But what's also sort of stunning about this is that no one has ever the
I remember
producers are
having
on
to
Broadway.
talk.
Yeah, it's
I
on
remember having
Broadway,
to
yeah.
talk you
In
down.
the most Jewish city in the
I
country.
remember Sam being like, "We need to do producers segments because it's anti-Semitism."
Before,
Yes.
yeah. before he said it was the producers, I was hoping he meant Young Frankenstein, and that it was actually monsters that were
Right.
the ones who were.
Continue.
It's a microaggression.
part of our lives now. And now we don't have freedom of speech anymore because if we say something, even a harmless jest, then it gets rammed down your throat as you're some kind of racist fascist person.
Hey, it's like
wait a second.
you go,
Wait a second.
hey, you Puerto Rican whore, can I ram this down your throat? And then it gets rammed down your throat.
I just want to remind people the reason why Bill O'Reilly is talking in his storage closet to Dennis Miller, who may or may not be on the toilet with his iPad, is because Bill O'Reilly was a serial sexual harasser. And so that might have something to do with his complaints at this moment. There's no freedom of speech. You can't continue to have your company pay off $20 million lawsuits. But anymore, what happened? What happened to America?
Mochaccino latte. You want a little bit more vanilla than that? All of a sudden, no more free speech. You know what I'm talking about, Miller.
Go ahead.
I love the way that someone would watch the first part of the producers and think they really were celebrating Hitler and then write an angry letter. You know, like, who could watch that movie and think, is this a pro-Hitler thing that I'm watching? This is crazy.
Maliciously poking fun at anything other than the fact that Hitler was such an idiot. If you watch the movie, Dick Shawn plays him as an idiot, okay? But I'm disturbed because it goes into every part of our lives now. And now we don't have freedom of speech anymore. Because we say something, even a harmless jest, then it gets rammed down your throat as you're some kind of racist, fascist person. I mean, what has happened?
I would say that there are most things I'll continue to say. But when you ask me candidly, are there certain things I put it this way, forget microaggression. If Mel Brooks made Blazing Saddles now and used some of that language, it would not be a microaggression. It would be a macroaggression in their eyes. Mel Brooks, if he was of a certain age, would have to be destroyed if he was in his prime. And I can't tell you if they re-release that film in a theater, just hypothetically, and it's not going to happen. But if somebody said it's time for a re-release of this, I think they'd try to destroy, what is Mel today, 90? I think they'd go after him now.
Yep, we would get our marching orders. We would destroy Mel Brooks. I mean, that's the job,
thanks
man.
For putting the idea in people's heads to go after Mel Brooks.
So, Miller, I'm just giving an example. Say you go up to a girl at work, you say, hey, would you like a little of Kirkcaldy County in you? All of a sudden, your free speech is destroyed.
Totally. Totally.
Do you guys think he looked a little bit mad when he talked about how they played Hitler as an idiot?
Right.
Also,
because he thinks that Hitler, there was
They
some
did it.
good
He's just
point
like,
and
he's
could-
an idiot. What a moron. The Holocaust? What are you, a moron?
They say he's stupid like he blew something for them.
You blew it. You could have wiped all of them out. You blew it.
You had him in the palm of your hand.
Gets so much credit, Hitler. But the fact is, he was an idiot.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. You can see why Bill O'Reilly's such a great author with his, like, that Hitler was an idiot.
Like, what's that?
Least
really?
competent genocide ever.
What's that Boston first baseman that had that ground ball go through his legs?
No.
Buckner. Yeah.
Or he was Andres, the Andres Escobar of the Jewish problem.
Oh, we got to hold on for a second. Did you send that to Matt? All right, hold on for a second, ladies and gentlemen.
Miller, it set us back 70 years. We invaded Poland too soon.
Folks, Dennis Miller wants you to know he's paying attention to politics that are happening. Just yesterday afternoon, when apparently Jeff Flake said that his completely ineffectual critique of whatever Donald Trump has done this week, Dennis Miller responds with, henceforth, all snowflakes will be known as Jeff Flakes. So it is written.
Time out!
We need to get a camera on Andy so we can see him dying.
He didn't even turn his iPad on.
So it is written, so it shall be done. Is that like a Star Trek thing? Isn't it like, or is that like? I feel like that was that's like some version of like a Battlestar Galactica. So say we all, or something like.
Jeff
It's a great tag, though. I'll tell you that. I don't know where it came from.
It's
But
Pharaoh
it's
Ramses
a
II,
great tag.
actually.
Is it? Oh,
Yep.
Now that's an old reference there.
there you go.
I have no idea what that reference is.
Who got the Pharaoh
So it shall be done.
Ramses reference? Wow. Now, Andy, you are a professional comedian. Would you
I can't
explain to
stop
me
laughing at that tweet
how do you guys? Could we put that back up on the screen, please?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can we put that
Sounds
one
like
back
you're
up
giving
on
me
the
a
screen?
lie detector test.
No, Andy,
You
you're
are
a professional comedian. I'm just curious. How do you guys come up with this stuff?
I can't today. You can't today. You say anything today. You say you shout out even the lightest racial epithet, and people are they go all over you.
Do you think that when he gets criticism for being incredibly unfunny, that he's going to see this as a form of PC culture too? Like it used to be, you could take any two words, replace them, and people would think it was funny.
It used to be if you swapped two things, they'd laugh, and now
I don't know what to tell you, Bill. It used to be if you said this thing was like another thing, and then Star Trek, they laughed. But now all of a sudden, with all the blacks and the lesbians, it doesn't happen anymore.
The PC culture.
If you call them blacks and lesbians, they're gonna cancel Blazing Saddles in the theater.
We got a new one. The NFL, as you know, Andy, has because of the I think largely because of the players' union, has basically suspended their dumb national anthem rule that they had, and Dennis Miller.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, Dennis Miller has waved in on this. The NFL couldn't be any more in the killing the golden goose business if they were Auric Goldfinger's executive chef the day before Thanksgiving.
what?
Is that a James Bond? Is a James Bond reference?
Yeah, that's Bond.
Is that Bond?
Auric
That's a James
Auric
Bond-
Goldfinger
that's
was the bad guy, but
Oh wait,
it couldn't be any more in the killing the golden goose business if they were Auric Goldfinger's executive chef today. I would have gone with Midas. Midas's executive.
Yeah,
I
maybe
just
don't
hit
say
translate.
gold
I just hit
twice in
translate.
one
That's what
joke.
happened.
That's why you're not a pro.
no, but the point is that Goldfinger's chef would have a golden goose.
Because everything Goldfinger owns is gold.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
Oh,
You
okay.
can't even call it
here's
a
the-
goose now. You have to call it a golden flying thing.
A golden flying autonomous identity thing.
But here's the weird
Respect.
thing about it. First off, I'm going to say the obvious thing, which is like, isn't like turkey more commonly eaten on Thanksgiving?
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks.
but
yeah.
turkey's not as
Secondly-
funny a word as goose.
Secondly, if I remember correctly, Goldfinger not American. Why would he be spending? Why would he be celebrating
great-
Thanksgiving?
Mr. Bond, you asked me why I celebrate Thanksgiving. It was because when I was a teenage boy, I did an exchange program from
when
Holland.
Auric Goldfinger's ancestors
Yeah.
were kicked out of their country.
Andy,
When I came to Holland, I came legally. I can assure you, Mr. Bond.
so Andy, you're a professional comedian. Is this the way you guys come up with jokes? Like I have a word. I have a premise that has the word gold in it, and then you got to find other words that have the word gold in it.
He uses a comedy thesaurus or something. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he's able to pull out names that have no meaning and then just line them up in a row. It's like a trick.
I'm just working this out. The NFL couldn't come up with a more of a golden goose moment if they were a golden retriever hunting geese.
Yeah, but that's I feel like that's like a respectable like third grader joke. Like these jokes are not respectable in any lane.
Every one of his tweets is so classically horrible. Every single one. Even when he's just advertising his show, he goes, and I'm going to be discussing golf with Alice Cooper this week.
Stay tuned for my next book, Miller, The Killing of Mel Brooks.
There is a quality. I have to say, like Saul's now into telling jokes. My 5-year-old son, and he says, "Dad, what do you call a an angry. What is what do you call an angry cow? And I'm like, what? And he goes, a moody cow. You get it? Because cows say moo. And I sort of feel like, Miller should always have a follow-up tweet. Because you get it.
Because
Goldfinger's
gold.
goose would have been gold.
gold.
Then they would kill it, although it would already be dead the moment the act of turning it into gold would have killed it.
I like
Just when you thought that joke couldn't get better.
I like the concept that he even has to fill out his own like sort of composite character sketches to justify his joke. Like, why would Goldfinger celebrate Thanksgiving requires a whole backstory that Ian Fleming didn't even write.
Well, you just have to let it wash over you, some of this comedy.
Exactly. You
my
always
favorite
say yes.
line of all time, though, is still when he was on Letterman years ago. I'll never forget this. And he goes, it's like calling a Squatchquee or something. And David Letterman corrected that he got the name wrong. Oh, it was so good.
Oh, was that that movie? That movie?
Koyaanisqatsi, yeah. Oh, God.
And he
Letterman corrected him. That's
mispronounced
great.
It's like a regular calling a Squatchquee.
Oh man, that kind of would kill his whole thing. If
All
you
right,
mispronounce something like that and Letterman went, that's pretty bad.
Let's keep this Dennis Miller for next time. But I want to just. I know.
Said Sam never.
Well, I just want
No,
to.
you're right. Let's play it now.